Good morning. Welcome to Unity Longmont Spiritual Center on the 28th of January, 2024. We are blessed to have Dannah Edwards as our speaker and to have Faith Halverson-Ramos as our musician. So we will hear from Faith.
This first song is Peace Today by Faith Rivera. Peace is a promise I make today. There's nothing greater for me to say than to lay down my fears, lay down unhappiness, and surrender to the peace I choose today. Peace is a gift that I give today. No easy shortcut, peace is the way. I will lay down my pride, lay down self-righteousness, and surrender to the peace I choose today. My all I give, my love for all, my all I give, my love for all. Peace is a reason we're here today. No accident, we've been called by name, called to lay down our lives, stand up for greater good, and surrender to the peace we choose today. And surrender to the peace we choose today.
As always, thank you, Faith, for your beautiful, beautiful voice and your choice of song.
You're welcome.
Thank you. It's at this time that we go into prayer together by taking a breath, being fully aware of our bodies and our minds, our sacred hearts. And let us spend a moment focusing on peace. Let us find that peace within ourselves, the peace that calls us to be our best self. The peace that calls us to rest and restore when we are tired. The peace that calls us to reach out to others. The peace that calls us to reach out to others when we ourselves need help. The peace that reminds us that we are all one, that there is one presence in the world and in our lives, and that is God the Good. We rest into that. We are renewed by it and guided by it. We remember we are from love, of love, and share love. And so it is. And we will hear from Faith again.
This next song is Peace Return to Me by Patricia Bahia, Sue Riley, and Richard McDeesey. When When I'm feeling far from home, peace return to me. In the chaos of the storm, peace return to me. When I feel I'm all alone, peace return to me. When it seems I can't go on, peace return to me. Peace be still, peace be still, in the heart of everything. Peace be still, peace be still, peace return to me. When I feel I'm not enough, peace return to me. When I'm pulled by fear and not by love, peace return to me. When forgiveness can't be found, peace return to me. When I'm standing on unsteady ground, peace return to me. Peace be still, peace be still, in the heart of everything. Peace be still, peace be still, peace return to me. Peace return to me.
Thank you again, Faith. So, in this peaceful moment, let us open our hearts and minds for Dannah and her wisdom. Welcome, Dannah. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. It's always a very loving group to be with, very accepting. And a lot of healing comes from that every week. Well, today I'm going to talk about, it's kind of a fruit salad of things, but at one point I'm going to get around to the four Brahma Viharas, which is a Buddhist teaching probably a lot of you are familiar with. But I was inspired to choose this topic by something that you said, Skip, a couple weeks ago, or maybe it was last week. I mentioned that wonderful Native American story where the young man goes to his elder and says that he's being tormented by these forces inside of him. They're fighting like two dogs for supremacy, and that he intuits that one of these dogs represents good and the other dog represents evil. And he didn't know which one would win. And the elder responded, well, the dog that you feed will win, right? It's the one that you feed. And, it got me thinking about how all of us have the capability to both to love and to hate, to have goodwill for others or ill will for them, to be genuinely happy for others or to be envious and competitive. We all have the desire and a connection to divine love. We have the desire to be happy and we're connected to divine love. But we also have shadow selves that are full of confusion and can lead us to harm ourselves and others. And that really sets a stage because we are capable of anything. So what are we going to do with this capability? And coming back to the dog parable, if we want to avoid feeding the evil dog, how do we do that? And how do we feed the good dog? And so I brought up a case scenario. Okay, so like say I perceive that someone else has intentionally wronged me and I feel anger, the dog of anger awakened. And this anger is very unpleasant. It's a nasty cluster of hurt, betrayal, humiliation, perhaps longing for revenge. And so what do I do? And I know there are a lot of unskillful ways I have tried to deal with the dog of anger over my lifetime. What are some of the common unskillful ways? And they're tricky too, because they take the form of a false solution. They alleviate my pain very quickly, but they do not work for very long. And later I find out that while it feels like I'm not feeding the dog, the evil dog of anger, or I actually am feeding that dog. So some of the things I might do, I could blot it out and distract myself with work or reading or TV. I could drink. I could rush out with friends. I could lash out at the person who I perceived has wronged me, either directly or through gossip. Or I could do a form of this internally, indulging in storylines of blame and moral outrage. Or I may try to suppress that dog of anger by shaming myself out of the emotion. I shouldn't feel that way, right? So why do we do these things? Why do we do this? Because we don't think we can bear it, perhaps, or we don't think that staying with the suffering will help. So it's better just to get comfortable any way that we can, and the quickest way that we can. It's a very natural impulse to want to avoid suffering. But this brings up something that Dava said in her talk a couple of weeks ago. She said that Jesus never avoided suffering. And I've been thinking about that as well. And all of these usual unskillful fixes for anger fall under the category of avoiding suffering, of suppressing the dog of anger somehow. But to ignore the dog of anger, shut it in a closet, or throw a stone at it, actually feeds it. As we all know, it comes back all the angrier, because we've either treated it with contempt or egged it on with storylines of outrage. Still there. And, perhaps this dog of anger not going away after these unskillful responses is as it should be. Because that angry dog is energy from a deep part inside of us. And it contains wisdom. And it has manifested to be healed. Any anger carries a message, a very important message for us, about changes that we may need to make, about what our deepest values are that perhaps have been violated. And it also contains an enormous amount of energy, the energy that we're going to need to make those changes in our mindset and perhaps changes in our lives. So I'm going to propose that the evil dog of anger is energy and wisdom for the taking, if we know how to welcome it and transform it into the good dog. There are a lot of different practices and different religious traditions, and I'm pretty familiar with Thich Nhat Hanh because I've been studying him and following him for several years, and so he has a mantra for abiding with anger that I wanted to share with you. So could you post that, please, David? Yeah. Breathing in, I know that anger is here. Breathing out, I know that the anger is not me. Breathing in, I know that anger is unpleasant. Breathing out, I know this feeling will pass. Breathing in, I am calm. Breathing out, I am strong enough to take care of this anger. So you see Thich Nhat Hanh seeing this, there's the self, and then there's perhaps the shadow self that's feeling the anger. And so there's a self that can hold the anger. So in a way, you're immediately put in touch with a source of strength that you don't feel when you feel you are just the anger. He has another beautiful metaphor for this, the mother and the crying baby. The mother is the more mature self that's more in touch with the divine energy. And the crying baby is a very vulnerable part of the self that is in need of love and transformation. So in both of these things, you see him doing several things. You know, it starts out by acknowledging and accepting that anger is there. In other meditations, he says, "Hello, my little anger, I know you are there," and actually addresses the anger with an endearment. It's so the greeting is, one of the big things that we do with something that's an unpleasant emotion is we suppress it, we deny it in some way, we dismiss it. And this is greeting it with all kinds of attention and friendly respect. It's almost a welcoming. Sometimes he says, "Hello, I know you are there." And then after that takes place, this welcoming, this accepting, there's a systematic and patient comforting. I will stay with you until you feel better. No need to hurry, I'm here. And this is kind of interesting, other than making ourselves willing and patient and kind, the process is somewhat mysterious. So it does require an act of faith on our part in the process. Because if we keep doing it, and I did not believe it would work the first time I tried it, and also many times afterwards. And I always was so grateful that it did work, and it did work every time. At some point, the anger transforms itself. All we've done is accept it and hold it. And the anger has, what happens? Who transforms it? I don't ever feel like it was me. It's just an act of acceptance and allowing it time. I feel like it can transform itself. So the suffering lifts, you feel relief, and not just relief, there's a gift that's left. The anger has become energy and often insight, what you need to do to change, how to change. Jung said that, we have the shadow self. And the shadow self, just to remind you, is that the parts of ourselves that we find unacceptable, so we have repressed, and we are not, by his definition, conscious of them, but they're there. And they're kind of like independent people. He calls them complexes. And they can pop out and do and say things that surprise us. Sometimes we're amazed at things that we're capable of. And the shadow, Jung says, is always with us our entire life, no matter how hard we work at it. It never goes away completely. And that's another thing. At one point, I hope that if I did certain spiritual work diligently, and I would see it working, that the shadow would just go away. That evil dog would just be gone. And or the angry dog go away for good, or become tamed, permanently good. And Jung says, no, we will never be completely whole. Perhaps in our divine manifestation, but during our lifetime, our life's work is to become as whole as we can be, to search for that wholeness and to bring into consciousness whatever we can, and to be aware of spiritual practices that connect us with divine forces to help us to do this work. Jung said, yes, the shadow is always there, and it's often presents in a painful or menacing way. But he also says that the shadow is pure gold. And by that, he means that it bears the gift of energy and insight and the gift of wholeness. So this work of making ourselves whole, he called individuation. And in a way, once I accepted this, it was kind of comforting to think that every day of our lives, if we know how to accept emotions emerging from our shadow, we are becoming more and more whole every day that we are alive and every day that we do that work. Meaning that we have more energy and more insights to help heal ourselves and to heal other people. So anyway, we've looked at some inadvertent ways. We've looked at some ways of not inadvertently feeding the evil dog. So going back to our parable, how do we feed the good dog? There is a Buddhist practice that I found very helpful called the 4 Brahma Viharas. And Deva, would you please post that diagram that shows what they are? Okay. So here we see on the, you see can everybody see it okay? Yeah. So there's 3 columns, and in the left, there's the Brahma Vihara, meaning Brahma is the name of a Hindu god, and Vihara is heavenly abode, or an abode. So Brahma Vihara is translated often as heavenly abode. And so they are metta. These are the Pali words, also translated as loving kindness. Sometimes it's translated as goodwill, karuna, or compassion, mudita, which is joy with others or sympathetic joy, being able to feel happy for other people. And the last is upekkha, or equanimity. And So these are places of paradise or bliss, where souls go after death to experience an eternal state of peace and happiness. And these are states that we can cultivate in this life by the use of certain practices. So Buddhism dates from the life of Siddhartha Gautama, which is about 2,500 years ago. The practice of the Brahma Viharas is actually much older. He adopted it and adapted it somewhat. In fact, it's named after Brahma, a Hindu god. And so this is a very ancient wisdom about the human psyche. This is a teaching that offers ways of understanding the emotions that make us suffer in a context of their corresponding helpful energy. When Thich Nhat Hanh says, no muck, no lotus, he's referring to this teaching as well. From the muck of a painful emotion, we can transform it, and the corresponding lotus of the Brahma Vihara will manifest. So if you look at this chart, you could either start with the painful emotion that's on the right and work towards the left to transform it into the positive state that it can become. As in taking care of the evil dog of anger when it arises and not feeding it more negative energy, but helping it to transform. So we see, let's start with metta. You can see that its far enemy is painful ill will. So if you feel ill will towards someone, or it's the polar opposite of loving kindness or goodwill towards someone. And if you're feeling, going down to the next one, if you're feeling cruelty, the far opposite that can be transformed into is compassion. If you're feeling resentment or envy, its far opposite is sympathetic joy or being happy for other people. And if you're feeling craving, clinging, also high forms of anxiety, the far form it can be transformed to is equanimity, which is a divine wisdom of accepting that things are as they are. And then in the middle, you see what's called the near enemy. And often we can become confused in our act of transformation for something that looks like the Brahma Vihara, but it's not. So painful ill will, sometimes someone with confusion can transform it into a selfish kind of affection, which is not what we're striving for. Because the selfish affection is the ego wanting things to satisfy the ego, rather than wanting what is best for the other person. The next one, this one is pretty powerful, I think. Cruelty can become its opposite, compassion. The near enemy is pity. So what is the difference between compassion and pity? Compassion is between equals. Pity always has a little hint of contempt and superiority. Nobody wants to be pitied, right? Although all of us feel very healed by compassion. So you can see how the confusion of the ego can intercede here. Then resentment and sympathetic joy for others, this near enemy of exuberance. That one's kind of hard for us as Westerners because we're used to thinking of any kind of excitement as purely good. But the way I understand that is we're looking for a joy for others that is devoid of any kind of excitement for ourselves. What am I getting out of this? It is just purely joy for other people, and I'm able to feel it because I am in a good place. Then there's equanimity. Equanimity is a balanced state of mind. It's the middle way of the mind that is neither clinging nor pushing away. Often people confuse equanimity with indifference. And it's a little bit hard to explain. I'm going to do my best here, but say you see someone suffering and you're not able to help. It may be something you've seen on the news or someone who's already died, and you create an enormous amount of additional suffering in yourself because of that inability to help. And that extra suffering that you've created is not helpful to you or to anyone else. So equanimity is the wisdom to truly accept the way things are, and given the way things are, how can you help in the most focused and effective way? So yeah, we could take this down now, I guess. And the reason that the middle column is called the near enemy is because it's close to the Brahma Vihara and is sometimes mistaken as the good emotion. So these are divine abodes that we can cultivate through a series of practices and strive to abide in throughout our earthly existence, and in this way feed the good dog. The not feeding the bad dog is more when the bad or the unhelpful emotion has arisen, and then we're in recovery mode, emergency mode, and we need to come up with healing and work with it. But if we can preemptively cultivate these states, we're in a stronger position to keep the say the dog of anger from arising in the first place. And the most foundational of the Brahma Viharas is the first one, the Brahma Vihara of cultivating loving kindness or goodwill. And there are many practices for that. It's considered they all interact and they all help each other. But the first one is foundational, because without the ability to feel goodwill for ourselves and for other people, then we can't proceed with the other Brahma Viharas. And Thich Nhat Hanh has a lovely aspiration that you can say upon awakening to cultivate the first Brahma Vihara of loving kindness. 24 brand new hours ahead of me. May I look on all beings with the eyes of compassion. Cultivating the Brahma Viharas is an intention. You have the intention to be wise, the intention to be kind, and the intention to be kind in the most intelligent and helpful way for both for yourself and for other people. And then there's also the lovely metta meditation, or you might have know of it as Maitri meditation. And it's a way to encourage and nurture loving kindness. You start with yourself, and then you move out in wider circles, away from yourself to people that it's maybe harder to feel loving kindness for. Hema Chodron has another translation for metta or maitri. Instead of loving kindness, goodwill, she calls it often unconditional friendliness. And she said, when you start with yourself, that means it's a practice, an intention that you will be a good and loving friend to yourself no matter what. That you will extend the same unconditional friendliness to another person no matter what. And the reason that you start with yourself, in Thich Nhat Hanh's words, are, until we are able to love and take care of ourselves, we cannot be of much help to others. So you start, and some people find it very difficult to start with themselves because they have a very fraught relationship with themselves, and they have not been able to, say, forgive themselves for something. So they say, in that case, choose a being that, it could be animal or human, that you have no problem loving unconditionally, that you just feel nothing but love for in your heart. And you start with that being, and then you work your way out. So I thought that we could practice a round of this meditation together. And so we're going to start with ourselves, and then a person that we have a neutral feeling towards. That may be someone that you don't know, you've seen at the grocery store, or just don't really know. I know. Oh, then I'm sorry. You start with yourself, and you start with someone you love very deeply. Then you move on to a neutral person, and then in the end, you choose a difficult person. And you don't want to just jump right into someone who's very difficult for you to love, very fraught. Choose someone who's just a little bit difficult, because this is a practice of stretching in our heart. And we do it, and we do it, and we do it until one day we find that actually that person that we couldn't say it for 2 weeks ago, yeah, now we can say it for her. So take a deep breath. May I be peaceful, happy, and light in body and spirit. May I be safe and free from injury. May I be free from anger, afflictions, fear, and anxiety. May my heart and mind awaken. May I be free. Now bring to mind a person or an animal that you love deeply. May you be peaceful, happy, and light in body and spirit. May you be safe and free from injury. May you be free from anger, afflictions, fear, and anxiety. May your heart and mind awaken. May you be free. Now bring to mind a neutral person, someone you do not know well. May you be peaceful, happy, and light in body and spirit. May you be safe and free from injury. May you be free from anger, afflictions, fear, and anxiety. May your heart and mind awaken. May you be free. Now bring to mind a difficult person. This may be someone, if you saw them walking down Main Street, you might cross over to avoid talking to them, or something like that. If you know their name, you might say their name. Deep breath. May you be peaceful, happy, and light in body and spirit. May you be safe and free from injury. May you be free from anger, afflictions, fear, and anxiety. May your heart and mind awaken. May you be free. Now, bring a picture to your mind. See yourself, the person or animal that you love very deeply, the neutral person, and the difficult person. You're all embracing, touching each other, holding hands maybe. May we be peaceful, happy, and light in body and spirit. May we be safe and free from injury. May we be free from anger, afflictions, fear, and anxiety. May our hearts and minds awaken. May we be free. And so it is. So this is a small sample of some of the many, many practices there are to cultivate the Brahma Viharas. We started with the first one, but you can see how if you did this every day for a month, what kind of miraculous shifts could take place in your heart. And I love that final line. That's from the version by Tara Brach, just that part of it. May your heart and mind awaken. May you be free. Because that one I can say full-heartedly even to a difficult person. And that feels good. So that is, I guess all of these are practices and training wheels to put us in the heavenly abodes.
Wonderful, Dannah. Thank you for the sacred practices, including the opportunity to actually do one. Thank you so much for that. And we will hear from Faith.
This song is my own. It's all within you. 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 Breathe in, breathe out, and know it's all within you. Breathe in, breathe out, and know it's all within you. Shadow within you, shadow within you, shadow within you. Shadow within you, shadow within you, shadow within you. Breathe in, breathe out, and know it's all within you. Breathe in, breathe out, and know it's all within you. Light within you, light within you, light within you. Light within you, light within you, light within you. Breathe in, breathe out, and know it's all within you. Breathe in, breathe out, and know it's all within you. And know it's all within you.
Lovely, Faith. Thank you. Thank you. It's at this time that we go into our donation of love and light. Again, by taking a breath and being aware of our entire self, and deeply aware that our essence is of love and light. And from a place of equanimity and compassion, let us share that love and light with others. We do so by breathing in and breathing out and letting go. As we breathe in and out and share this light and love, we may notice it expands. We may notice it's even more significant for us too. We are reminded we can practice this at any time. And as always, we express our gratitude. Thank you. And so it is, and we will hear from Faith.
This last song is Work of Heart by David Alt. You are a work of heart, a brilliant light for all to see, perfect in every part, heaven and earth in harmony, the beauty of your face reveals a life of grace. You are a work of heart, a masterpiece. I am a work of art, a brilliant light for all to see, perfect in every part. Heaven and earth in harmony, the beauty of my face reveals a life of grace. I am a work of art, a masterpiece. We are a work of art, a brilliant light for all to see, perfect in every part. Heaven and earth in harmony, the beauty of our face reveals a life of grace. We are a work of art, a masterpiece. We are a work of art, a masterpiece.